And what this case is not is some made-for-TV movie with plot twists and shocking revelations and surprise endings. Make absolutely no mistake, this is a case about the evidence and where that evidence led and who that evidence led to.
Okay, a lot of evidence in this case. This case is going to play out over the course of, it looks like, a couple of months here on Court TV, the case against Paul Canero. One of the pieces of evidence in the case involves a backpack that was found. Let's get back to Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas. Cody, what do we know about this backpack and what was found inside of it?
Well, Vinny, essentially prosecutors are saying that this backpack is the smoking gun here. Now, along with the actual gun that was found in Paul Canero's basement, they say this backpack contained gun parts that were used in the shooting of Paul's brother Keith and Keith's wife Jennifer. Now, prosecutors say this backpack was found in the cargo area of one of the Porsches parked at Paul Canero's house. Take a listen to the prosecutor explaining it.
You remember Susan's Porsche Cayenne, the car that the defendant backed out of the driveway and that the family sat in and ultimately drove to headquarters. Well, at headquarters, that vehicle was searched. And in the back of that vehicle, in the rear cargo area, officers located a backpack. And inside of that backpack were numerous items belonging to the defendant. His bank cards, his credit cards, his laptop, pieces of his mail, his daughter's savings bonds, his passport, and also the barrel of a 9mm handgun and a gun silencer. Now, in the defendant's basement, there was a metal locker, and located in that metal locker was a gun. It was a 9mm Sig Sauer. That gun, as well as the barrel and the silencer, were sent out to the New Jersey State Police Ballistics Unit for testing. Those conclusions included a finding that bullets and shell casings from 15 Willowbrook Road came from that barrel in his backpack and from the gun in his basement.
So, Vinny, just for our viewers, just in case they didn't catch all of that, these are the contents of the backpack: his bank and credit cards, his laptop, his mail, his daughter's savings bonds, a passport, the barrel of a gun, and a gun silencer. And Vinny, prosecutors are also saying the gun used in the shootings at Keith Canero's house was found in Paul's basement. So, Vinny, this doesn't look great for Paul. I mean, you have savings bonds, a passport. It seems like one of two things is going on here. Either he wanted to save the things from a real fire, or it seems like he had a plan to run somewhere.
Yeah, whatever it is, it just does not look good. Whatever the conclusion you can draw from it. Thanks so much, Cody. And that brings us to the next question in our investigation. Why? Why were those items in the same backpack, right? Gun stuff, mail, passports, laptop, silencer. Joining me, former NYPD officer, retired Nassau County Lieutenant and Commanding Officer Mike Gould, and still with us, Attorney Bob Mata. Mike, what are your thoughts here? Why are all those items in this backpack in the cargo area of the Porsche?
Yeah, Vinny, thanks for having me. So regardless of what his motive was to put them in there, whether he, as Cody said, he was just trying to save them for a fire, they're very damning, particularly the ballistic evidence associated with the gun. So, yeah, this is pretty powerful evidence. You know, the passport, the savings bonds, and all of those things are not quite as compelling, but you have a silencer that matches the gun that's found in his house that is connected to the shooting. I mean, that's pretty compelling evidence.
Yeah, Bob, what story is this backpack telling us?
It's not a good one, Vinny. It's not a good one. And you know, I just want to remind our beautiful viewers that it's always the defendant's choice to go to trial. It's not the attorney's. So, you know, his attorney has to deal with this backpack. I mean, obviously, if you're the prosecution, you're arguing it's consciousness of guilt and or he's going to flee. And it certainly shows premeditation. It shows that, you know, once they matched up that barrel, the silencer, forensically to, you know, the casings that they found at the scene, that's super problematic if you're the defense, right? So it shows that he was planning this, that he had purchased or owned the silencer prior to. He's got his passport. Obviously, the insinuation would be that he's trying to leave the country. He's got all his bank cards with him, brought a few pieces of mail. It's some pretty tough evidence for a defense attorney to get over, and it's really, really powerful evidence for the prosecution.
Yeah, Mike, do you think there was a thought in his mind that he was just going to, like, take off, like leave his family behind? And I'm trying to add that up with the motivation behind all of this, right? The motivation, according to prosecutors, is that the business was going to be folded up. He wasn't going to be able to live his lifestyle anymore. But with the murder of the entire family, he gets his hands on life insurance. He probably gets the proceeds from the insurance for the fire on his brother's $10 million mansion or however much it costs. He's getting that money. Plus, he gets 100% ownership of the two businesses. That's not a guy who would flee. That's why I'm so confused by the backpack.
Right. So I'm trying to rationalize the mind of an irrational person. I mean, none of this makes sense. This is evil personified. To stare children in the face and stabbing them to death is probably one of the most horrific things I can imagine. It makes Alex Murdaugh look like a Boy Scout. So, we're trying to rationalize that he thinks that this was going to be an organized crime cover-up or something. None of this makes any sense. There's maybe not a direct evidence going to be here, but the totality of the circumstantial evidence is going to be overwhelming. But to rationalize what his thought process was, if you think about how sloppy and crazy the thoughts of us burning his own house, killing this family, it just makes no sense to revenge, resentment, jealousy, envy, those are motives. But, this is one that baffles me. I don't really understand what he was thinking, how he was going to get out from under this.
Bob, do you think, and again, if he did this, do you think his plan was to actually burn down his whole house and hopefully things would be destroyed in the house, and maybe he's just grabbing some things he didn't want destroyed, like savings bonds? If they're burnt up, then they're pretty much gone, I think.
I mean, that's certainly a theory. I think ultimately at the end of the day, law enforcement came over and talked to him pretty quickly, right? Like he calls in 911, my house is on fire. His overarching plan here was to make it look like it was a targeted attack against both families from somebody that was very disgruntled. And I think after probably his initial contact with law enforcement, he probably started to get the sense, if he's not a total moron, that they're looking at me like maybe this thing isn't going to work in terms of fooling anybody, and starting with law enforcement. And to me, it just seems to be indicative of the fact that he was planning on jetting. He was on the run. I don't think that this guy was going to be hanging around. I mean, we're talking about a guy who just brutally murdered his family, like his niece and his nephew, the kids, like my esteemed co-panelist said. I mean, it's unthinkable. I mean, we are dealing with a guy who is just not in reality in any way, shape, or form, or he's just straight up evil, or both. So when you get to this situation where you've got this guy where he's not thinking rationally after he's had contact with law enforcement, I don't think the plan was ultimately to burn down his entire house. I don't think so. I think he probably tried to be careful as he could, probably called into 911 as soon as possible in order to kind of mitigate the damage as much as possible. Because, I mean, look, the guy's life was in shambles in general. Like you said, it does have that kind of Murdaugh vibe to it in terms of everything's crumbling down around him, and he's got financial problems on top of it. And he cooks up this half-baked, nightmarish crime to try to fix all his issues. And, I think at some point there had to have been some clarity, but who knows?
Yeah. And just like Murdaugh made himself the victim with that second shooting, he made himself the victim with the second fire. Mike Gould, Bob Motta, great to have you both with us. Thanks so much. Still to come, does Paul Canero's story make any sense?